Hello and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. My name is Chris and you're watching V-Sense. On today's video, we're going to be talking about a fragrance by the House of Chanel. The fragrance we're talking about today is Gabrielle. So this is a women's fragrance. It is marketed and geared towards a women audience. This is what the bottle looks like. It is very nice. It is a little simplistic for Chanel. You know, we are used to seeing a very simplistic design for bottles from Chanel itself. But this one kind of took elements of Bleu de Chanel, which is their men's line. It kind of took elements of the number 5 collection bottles or the cocoa bottles. This fragrance is supposed to symbolize Gabrielle Chanel prior to her becoming Coco. So if anyone knows about the House of Chanel, Coco, which was the creative director, the founder of the brand, the name of the brand itself, Mrs. Chanel or Miss Chanel, she was named Gabrielle, and this is supposed to symbolize Gabrielle prior to becoming Coco, the woman we know today, the strong, powerful, empowered woman that is the founder of the house. So a little bit of backstory about Chanel itself. She actually was an orphan. Her father abandoned her at an orphanage, and she was raised by nuns essentially. She had a really difficult life essentially. So what is all that story about? Essentially, the backstory is because this is what this fragrance is supposed to replicate. It's supposed to replicate someone that came from humble beginnings, that, made it big, made it to the top, and, became the woman she is by fighting all odds, essentially. So, this is a fragrance we have here. It is a very nice bottle. Like I said, it is kind of like a champagne type of color. Coco was big into gold, black, white, red, beige, and this is supposed to symbolize kind of like a champagne. Like I said, it's supposed to be prior to her big departure into becoming a very elegant woman. The fragrance itself is nothing super unique or super different. It's in line with Chanel, and what I mean by that is that the fragrance is likable, it is mass market, but it's done modern. So what I mean by that, Chance is kind of what we would have to go off of, because those fragrances were the newest launch from the mainstream collection. So with that being said, we also have Bleu de Chanel, we have Chance, like I said, we have a couple of Alex exclusives, but not everyone's able to get their hands on those. This fragrance kind of goes based off of those. It's created by Olivier Polge, which is a son of Jacques Polge. But this fragrance is going to be fresh, it's going to be clean, it's going to be floral, it's going to be likable to a younger, millennial woman, maybe a Gen Zer. It might be a little too floral for a Gen Zer. It does still have a classic element to it. It does take in mind the Chanel customer itself, but I feel like the Chanel customer likes a little bit more. We have Coco Mademoiselle, which, although it is a simple fragrance when you smell it, it's so complex and so different to everything else on the market. This fragrance is kind of one of those fragrances that would blend in. And I launched Joy by Dior when I worked for them. I launched Gabrielle Chanel. I worked for both of the companies at that point in time. But essentially, both of those fragrances to me were very disappointing. And this is a very disappointing fragrance. It's not bad. Don't take it as it's a bad fragrance, because it's not. It's a good fragrance. It's done well. It's done what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be mass appealing. It's supposed to be loved. It's supposed to be liked. It's supposed to be fresh, floral, and it's supposed to represent, a more humble beginning to her history. And while this does represent that, it's also a little disappointing. The bottle itself, it's disappointing because we would have thought it was going to be something a lot more revolutionary, a lot more different, because Chanel is known for being a house that really pushes the envelope with such elegance in the fragrance community. And this fragrance was not one of those, but it is a fragrance that, has managed to sell quite a bit. There is another fragrance that was launched after this one, which is Gabrielle Essence. This fragrance is the Eau De Parfum that I have here, which is the original one, launched in 2017. Like I said, the perfumer for this is Jacques Polge. The top notes for this are going to be mandarin, grapefruit, jasmine, and musk, tuberose, orange blossom, ylang ylang, sandalwood, finished off with black currant. So those notes really don't say much. Essentially, it is very heavy when it comes to the musk. It is very heavy when it comes to the orange blossom and the mandarin. You do get that fresh burst of fruits there. The tuberose is not an old tuberose, so you're not going to get a tuberose that's going to be something like tuberose new, which was a little old school. It's not going to be anything that's going to be over the top, overly 90s or 80s. And with that being said, like I said, it is a fragrance that's done modernly. So you do get that nice aspect where you know it's going to be liked by multiple people. It is also a fragrance that can be worn in multiple different settings. So it's not one that you would need to dress up for necessarily. It is really much in line with the Chanel brand because although Chanel is very dress up, it's also a brand that you can dress down essentially. So the price point for this guy is going to be $160 for 100 mils or 3.4 fluid ounces. For a 1.7 ounce bottle or 50 mils, you are going to be paying 122 US dollars. So they have gone quite up on these perfumes. I remember, like I said, when I worked for the brand, I think at the most that you could pay for a fragrance that was 100 mils was anywhere from 125 to 130 with Chanel. And it was the same with Dior because when Chanel raises their prices, so does Dior. But this one is quite up there. These are getting into some niche territory. You can get some niche fragrances on discounter sites for the price of these mainstream fragrances. How affordable are they? They're not affordable at all anymore, if you ask me. Do I think this fragrance is going to become a classic like the other ones have? No, I think it's going to kind of have the same outcome that Allure had. You know, we had Allure Eau Sensual for the women's collection, and those have not fared very well. Those have not lasted very long, and those are, you know, kind of fading out in the background, and those are no longer available in a lot of stores, or they're not available in certain retailers at all. So yeah, I think that this fragrance is likable for the now, for the moment, for the, you know, 2020s, for the 2010s. It was really great. And I think it's going to slowly fizzle out and really be one of those that's discontinued. That's just my opinion, you guys. I really I really hope I'm not offending anyone because I do like this fragrance. I do like the house. I do like the significance of this perfume because, you know, she was such a great icon and she lived such a sad story in her life, you know, being such a great visionary. But with that being said, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you've liked today's review. Make sure to also subscribe and comment down below what other videos you would like to see on this channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.